Right. Welcome to the Tuesday, April 28th, 2020 board meeting, our second virtual board meeting. Ms. Grahowski, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Green?
Here.
Dr. Pomponio?
Here.
Mr. Lamos? Mr. Lamos? I see him, but
Sorry, I had my mic off. I'm here.
Okay, all right. Mr. Craig?
Here.
Mr. Freitas?
Here.
Mr. Sage?
Here.
Mr. Estheimer?
Present. Thank you. And now, if you could, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Southgate's mission statement is learning for life. Our vision statement, Southgate Community Schools, the best choice for students and parents. Down to item D, revisions and approval agenda.
I can make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Pomponio. Do I have a second to that motion?
Support.
Mr. Who
Lamos.
was that? Mr. Craig?
Lamos.
Lamos?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Any discussion? All right. Roll call. Do we need a roll call vote that? Yes?
Yes.
All right. Please.
Dr. Pomponio?
Yes.
Mr. Sage?
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer?
Yes?
Mr. Craig?
Yes.
Mr. Freitas?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Lamos?
Yes.
All right. We have an agenda. I'll get used to this eventually. Did we have any citizens' comments? No? You're muted. Did you say no? Okay. All right. And we have no presentation, so that leads us on to the consent agenda, item G. I'll accept a motion for that.
I can make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second to that motion?
Support.
Mr. Green, thank you. Dr. Pomponio and Mr. Green, any discussion? Hearing none, please roll call vote.
Mr. Sage?
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer?
Yes.
Mr. Craig?
Yes.
Mr. Freitas?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Lamos?
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio?
Yes.
Thank you. So moved. All right, brings us to item H on our action agenda. Action item number 1, employee layoffs. Who will be presenting this? Ms. Pastor?
I think we skipped over citizens' comments. Did we have any?
We did not.
I did ask, and we didn't have any.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
It's okay.
So you're being asked to approve the temporary layoff of all employees from our childcare programs. These employees include latchkey and preschool staff. These employees are a self-sustaining group. The registration and tuition fees paid by parents fund their salaries. Since we are not offering these services, we are not collecting any money.
Okay. And would somebody like to make a motion on action item number 1?
We can make a motion to approve the temporary layoff of employees who service the Southgate latchkey and preschool beginning Wednesday, April 25th through Friday, June 12th, 2020.
Okay. I'm sorry. I forgot to ask Dr. Pomponio, if you would. I forgot to ask if there were any questions for staff before we called that motion. Did anybody have questions in between here? For Ms. Pastor? Okay. Would somebody like to approve Dr. Pomponio's motion?
Support.
Mr. Craig?
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, if you could roll call vote, please.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas.
Yes.
All right, that action item is moved. And we'll move on to action item number 2. This is a resolution requesting renewal of the regional enhancement millage. And Ms. Pastor, would this be you?
Yeah. So you're being asked to approve the resolution to support the renewal of the Wayne County Regional Enhancement Millage. Each school district board of education must decide if they wish to put it on the ballot. If enough school districts representing at least 50% of the students in the county vote in support of this resolution, it is placed on the ballot. If approved, this renewal will be then placed on the November 2020 ballot. It passes or fails on a county basis, not by local communities. If approved, the money is collected by the ISD and distributed equally to all constituent districts on a per student basis. Each district has local control of how the money is spent. The original proposal was passed in 2016 for 2 mills to be levied over 6 years. The proposal expires with the 2021-22 school year. This proposal generated approximately $360 per student for each district. As a district, our share has been approximately $1.4 million each year. These funds have been used for curriculum, Chromebooks, maintenance, athletics, the elimination of pay-to-play, transportation for band, JROTC, Quiz Bowl, robotics, and Big Brothers and Big Sisters, improvements to the auditorium at Anderson, and has helped bring our fund balance up over 9%.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Pastor? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion on action item number 2.
So just to let you know, this is a long motion and all the whereas need to be read.
So Mr. Green should make it?
That's not funny. If I do, I gotta find my packet.
Gotta find a more comfortable spot to do it from.
I got it.
All right. Mr. Green's making the motion.
Yeah, boy. Fun stuff. Whereas Section 7, sorry. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion. Whereas Section 705 of the Revised School Code of 1976 as amended, MCL 380.705, Section 705, provides for the levy of a regional enhancement property tax by an intermediate school district at a rate not to exceed 3 mills for the purpose of enhancing other state and local funding for local school district operating purposes, if approved by a majority of the intermediate school district electors, and whereas proceeds of a millage levied pursuant to Section 705 are paid to each constituent school district by the intermediate school district in the amount calculated on a per pupil basis as provided in Section 705. Whereas the authority conferred by the enhancement millage approved by the voters in 2016 will expire after the 2021 tax levy, and the school district would like to request a renewal of that authority. And whereas Section 705 provides that a school district may request an intermediate school district having a population of more than 1,400,000 to submit the question of a regional enhancement property tax to the voters at the next state primary or general election. And whereas it is in the best interest of the school district to request the Wayne County Regional Education Service Agency, Wayne RESA, to submit a regional enhancement millage renewal proposal to the electors at the state general election on November 3rd, 2020, in accordance with Section 705. Now, therefore, be it resolved that 1, the school district hereby requests that Wayne RESA submit to its electors the questions of renewing and continuing the authority to levy a regional enhancement millage for 2 mills for a period of 6 years, 2022 to 2027 exclusive, at the state general election to be held on November 3rd, 2020, pursuant to a ballot proposal substantially in the form attached here to at Exhibit A. 2, the school district hereby approves the ballot wording of the regional enhancement millage renewal proposal substantially in the form attached here to Exhibit A, provided that such ballot wording is subject to revision and finalization by Wayne Risa as may be necessary or convenient. 3, the superintendent is hereby authorized and directed to deliver a certified copy of this resolution to the Secretary of the Board of Education of the Wayne Risa. And 4, all resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provision of this resolution be and the same hereby are rescinded.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Do
Support.
we have a second?
Support.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Any further discussion on this action item? Seeing none, Ms. Grahusky, will you make a roll call vote?
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Craig.
Yes.
Thank you. Action item is approved. All right, moving on to letter I, employee representatives. Do we have any employee representatives that wish to speak today? Seeing none, go to item J, information and announcements. Anyone? All right, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Second?
Lamas.
Lamas? All right. Thank you all. We're so adjourned here.
You gotta take
It's
a vote. You gotta take a vote.
7:12 p.m.
You have to take the vote.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Lamos,
Yes.
Dr. Pomponio,
Yes.
Mr. Sage,
Yes.
Mr. Estheimer,
Yes.
Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Craig, for saving me on that one. I'll get used to it eventually. All right, everybody, you have a safe night and take care of yourselves, your family. And it is now 7:12 and we are adjourned.